episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today I got somebody yet again from California. Actually, take that back. He was at the in California event. He did the play-by-play. Jason Latona, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm from Vegas. Just so you know, I drove 5 hours to do that for Kyle. That's how much I like him.
Mistake number one on my part. Mistake number one.
No. I wish I lived in Cali right now. The weather's better, so it's Freudian slip.
So, before we went live, you and I were talking about the post I put up last week, right? Or was it earlier this week or whatnot? And it was about, how different, like, how are we as North America, Canada included, how we're getting our asses kicked, when we have these big events against the Eastern Europeans. And you and I are rapping about that. And I want to say for us, because Americans, we got so much other things to do. We got families, we got 95 jobs. And for a lot of us, this is a hobby, whereas for them, this is their livelihood. So they may take it a little bit more seriously. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree on that, but I don't agree. Kind of what I was echoing to before we went live.
Right.
I don't agree that that's the reason why we're not better.
Right.
And like I said, kind of to tell what we were talking about, just to bring us up to speed. My point is, like I said, I've been doing martial arts my whole life. My father was a martial artist. I started jiu-jitsu in 1995. I started training jiu-jitsu, and that dates me. It shows how old I am. I'm 45 years old. And but for me, and what I said to you was, I look at the way Americans are training for arm wrestling, very similar. And I know you probably know this. Do you remember like the Kimbo Slice? Do you remember the Kimbo Slice days?
Oh yeah.
With him. And I to me, the way I look at it, say you have Jody Williams and Jason Latona right now. There's two versions of us, and then in a parallel universe, you have another Jody and Jason. And these two guys are going to fight each other. All four guys are going to fight. Team 1, Jody, Jason. Team 2, Jody and Jason. And Team 1, we train super intense, American style. We get in the backyard once a week. We beat the crap out of each other, and maybe do some weights, do some pancakes, whatever it is that everyone's doing nowadays.
Right.
And we're getting ready to prepare a fight in the ring against two other guys. Now, the other two, Jody and Jason, they're actually, they're in class. They're in an MMA class, jiu-jitsu class, boxing class, and they're warming up properly. They're drilling, not fighting, not sparring. And, and they're doing it as systematic approach as a regular, modern MMA fighters would be.
Right.
Now, no matter how tough or whatever, how intensely we're training, at the end, a year from now when we have that fight, I'm sorry, but version A, of the tough guys that are training in the backyard, they're most likely to get their butts kicked by the guys that are training systematically and, understanding what that sport is. Now, I think it's the same in our sport with arm wrestling. We got the American version of it is, you get together, they're weight training, people are strong. It's not about that. But it's about the fact that, you look at every arm wrestling training, you got guys that chalking up in their backyard and, with beer in their hand. And again, imagine any professional athlete training that way. Imagine a LeBron James, a Tom Brady. I guarantee they're not at their practice with a beer in their hand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not like, hey, what are you doing today? I'm just gonna pin you. I'm gonna pin you over and over again. Tom Brady ain't, or LeBron James ain't going up to a smaller guy and just dunking on him over and over again just because you can.
Right.
But I've been to a lot of practices. Like I said, for me, my background is I started in the sport 2001. And was my first competition, or first time I ever was on the table. I was at the 1995 Yukon Jacks, way back in the day as a guest. I started the sport in 2001. I was 154 pounds, waking up out of bed. That's what I weighed. And I was in Orlando, and believe it or not, there were no teams in Orlando back then. I would drive up to Jacksonville and train with, I don't know if you know Greg Helm. But Greg Helm and some of the really nice guys up in Jacksonville. Greg's, I know he's still around. I don't know if he's not competing or anything anymore. But
right.
I would drive to Jacksonville and train a little bit and come back. And I ended up winning a couple of amateur titles. And then I got out of the sport for 17 years. And basically, because I was in the circus, I was doing a hand balancing act with the circus. And because I was always training everything, wrist curls, in hand balancing, if you do a handstand, your wrist is in the complete opposite way that you want it, unless you're Jerry Cataract, your hand
the
opposite way.
flop wrist, yeah.
I don't do that, but you know what I'm saying. But
right.
usually, as an arm wrestler, you don't want your hand in the same position you're doing a handstand. And so that was my livelihood. And I literally just kind of abandoned the sport because I knew I couldn't do both things at the same time. Then life happens, like you said, because as Americans, it's a hobby. Mm-hmm. And so then 3 years ago, I was living in Singapore for the last 10 years of my life. And 3 years ago, I met up with Valen Lowe and the Singapore arm wrestling team. And it was like, you know what? I can't do jiu-jitsu anymore. This back and neck issues. And I always paid attention to the sport, always loved the sport. I was there watching Poole and John, but I didn't compete. And so 3 years ago, I got back into the sport, and, here I am again. So
right.
It's nice to be back.
Well, good. I mean, welcome back to the sport, by the way. I know that here's the thing. It's like arm wrestling has got to a point where, and my original post, I made comments about, a lot of us spend too much energy on memes. We spend too much energy, with these, try to, just being negative toward one another, or we spend too much energy, creating trolls and all that kind of stuff and just talking crap and things like that. It's like, you know what? I mean, people, I'm not saying that is the reason, but if you think about it, and maybe when I said that, I think some people understood what I was saying, others didn't. I didn't mean to say that is the reason. I'm just saying if people would put all that energy into creating memes and the troll army and all that kind of stuff into your training, then maybe, aside from the obvious, we may be a little closer because let's be honest, I mean, the last couple of events, the East versus West, wasn't very good to us. Whether it be, Matt Mass didn't do great, neither did Todd Hutchings and Herman Stevens. And then you go fast forward to what happened over the weekend with Dave Chafee and Daniel Mosier. We haven't been on our A game. And so now we got to hang our hats on Arm Wars because now you got Ryan Espy, who was on Uncle John's show last night, North America. He's pulling Alex Kerdeka. So it's like, okay, well, hey, we got to cheer for my guy. Uncle John from Canada. He's in Arm Wars. Got to cheer for our guy because right now we are not doing what we need to do to hold our end of the bargain up, So that's where I was going with that.
And I agree. The thing is, our sport is too small and too niche. It's too small of a community to not be supporting each other. You know what I mean? I don't care where you're putting on an event, whether it's Canada or Florida or Texas or California. We should all be, to me, supporting one another. If you have a cause, support that cause. Support us. I like what Jamie Sheldon does his NatFit stuff. And we have our little shirts. My wife and I, and it's all for the love of the sport. Because until we all love it and grow it big enough, where we have the ability to go, all right, these guys are turds and love these guys and hate these guys. To me, we need to all be supporting one another. And you have a young guy. That's what Kyle called me and asked me about the King of Cali thing, and I don't have a name like that in the sport where like a Jamie Sheldon or someone like that. Right. But he's like, he knows that that's what I've done. I've been a performer. I've done, I've been an MC, live host and stuff like that, basically for 27 years. And so he knows that that's my thing. And I told him, he was like, dude, I can't pay. I was like, look, I didn't even ask for pay. I was coming out there to support the event, try to sell some of my T-shirts. So it was just it just felt right. And like I said, it's cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie to Kyle. It's good for my own exposure, get my name out there too. And, look, here I am, talking to you. And, but again, it's not about me. It's for the love of the sport. And if I can be someone that brings X amount of people to the sport or some new light into it, or, share some positivity, to me, that's a win-win, not just for myself, but again, for the sport. I don't think any one person is bigger than the sport is, if that makes sense,
No, I totally agree with that. And not only that, but, I've been doing this talk show for 5 years now, and it started as, hey guys, this is what I do, to train for a hook or a top row or what have you. Then, it became, hey, I'm doing this workout. You may want to try it. It may work, it may not. Then after that, it morphed into like, I'm having guests on the show. And, lo and behold, it kind of blew up to what it is now. But all those years, that was on Facebook. And I always had friends and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, you need to go to YouTube and do it this way. And, if you have enough, you can get, money from that. I'm like, you know what?
Sure.
I'm not about the money when it comes to that. I just did it for the love of it. I didn't think it would morph. I didn't think it would morph into a show like this. I really didn't think it would do that, but it has. I enjoy it because, again, you know, I've had some of the best on this show. I've had, you know, Dave Chafee, and that was, you know, like, you know, awesome because he really doesn't do interviews. But I had him on there before. I've had Ron Bath, Jerry Caderet, Neil Pickup, Brian Bowen. List goes on and on. I've had Sarah Bachman, right? I've had Thea Reisig. List goes on and on. I mean, I've had tons of people on this show, but it was all through Facebook because for me, it was easier to access Facebook. I had tons. I got over 2,500 friends, I guess, give or take, whatever, on Facebook. All I have to do is make an announcement. People sign in. Whereas now, and I'll never forget this, Jason, when made me go to YouTube is the fact that, hey, Jody, and for the love of me, I can't remember who said it to me. They said, hey, if I want to go back and see an interview with so-and-so, do I have to go through every single post you've done on Facebook to find it? And I was like, you know what? I think you do. So that alone taught me, okay, you know what? It's time to go ahead and morph over. You know, so when I made that change,
it's still at the end of the day, like you said, though, the original goal you had never changed. It was never about money. It was about this or that. Mm-hmm. It was just something you love to do,
right?
And you know that to me says it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would sit there if hey, Wall 506 is coming up. It's a preview. I would do a show on that. Maybe somebody might chime in with me and we talk about it. And then when it came and gone. By that following Monday morning, you know, I'm thinking, hey, let's talk about the backlash of Wall 506 or whatever. And then I would give you my take on that. And then I would actually, Jason, I kid you not, I would sit there, watch the event in its entirety, and I would have a notebook. And I would go, oh, match one. Hey, they slipped twice. That kind of stuff, you know. I would go match by match. What happened? In the strap, out of the strap? Did the elbow foul? Was it a real pin? Blah, 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 blah. I would do it that way because I love the sport that much. I would actually do that. And I don't think people understood why I did it.
The reality is every sport does that. You know what I'm saying? And,
right.
And we need that. And it's interesting, you know, because sometimes, for me, there was a lot of times too where, you know, if I would talk about the sport, I'm like, people don't care. But the reality is guys like you and me, we care. It's fun to listen to. You know, like I said, I'm a big MMA fan. I watch all the pre stuff, you know, up into the fight. Then I watch the fight. Then I watch all the post stuff. Then I watch all the the aftermath of the fight. And it's all interesting to me because I'm a fan of the sport. And you know, I think that's the thing with any fan of any sport. There's a reason you watch Inside the NFL, then the NFL wrap up and you know, all that kind of stuff because, you know, I think it's interesting. You know, for me, I think it's interesting. And I know there's a lot of other people out there. But that's my point, too, that we need to be supporting, you know, not like, oh, hey, Jody, you should have done it like this. Or hey, at least you're doing it, man. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of that myself. I'm not the criticizing part, but I'm like, damn, you know, I always admire anyone that takes it. Because, again, at the end of the day, you know, you're a family man and you have a job and you have this. It's all on time. And it's not like someone's saying, hey, Jody, at noon, you got that interview with that Jason guy, you know, and here's your $5,000 to do it. You're doing you know, and vice versa. We're all doing it out of time and our own time, you know. So, again, we should all be supporting one another, in my opinion. You know?
No, I agree. I mean, whether it be a talk show, because let's be real. I mean, when anyone comes on the scene and has a talk show, the first thing you got to do is like, okay, what's going to be the name of the show? Neil Pickup's got a show. Uncle John has a show. Gary Roberts has a show. As far as YouTube stuff, there's Ryan Bowen. There's Artem. There's, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, when you get to the filming aspect of it, we all know how many people were there at the King of California that was filming. Well, there was Puller Mag, which is my teammate, Nano Cruz. Nick Postal from ArmTalk was there. And sometimes, more often times than not, it's almost like it's a race. Like, okay, I filmed, this guy filmed. It's a race to see who can get their stuff up first. Because normally that whoever puts their stuff up first, everyone's going to watch that. However, I will say this, though. Everybody that puts footage out there, I mean, the Brad Cooks, the Joseph Drellicks, list goes on and on. They all have a little twist to it. So not everything's the same. It may be the same of, you know, nothing's going to change. Derek beat Tom 3-0. You know, you're not going to see a different, you know, outcome, but you may see a different angle. You know, and like me being a armless and nut that I am, I don't mind seeing different angles because sometimes you might say, wait a minute, they call that a pin? Well, let me get a different angle. Then you got somebody else who was there at the event who'll give you a different angle. Oh, okay, yeah, it was a pin. So, I mean, I love talking about it. Case in point, I sat there, I was on the show with Kyle DePew. I said, bro, when I saw that match with him and with Jonathan Hoffman and Mega Mike, my response on that post, bro, why are you constantly why are you not attacking his hand? Why do you keep going into his power? Never understood that. And then finally Hoffman gets on the post on the video and says, well, the referees didn't square us up. My hand was never straight. It was always underneath his. And I'm like going, well, why come the rest didn't fix that? So again, I'm looking at stuff like that, whereas a lot of people look at it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we can't be discouraged. Like I said, for me, going back to the MMA thing, is for me, I watch like a Luke Thomas do his review, and then I watch Ariel Helwani do his review, and then watch maybe Joe Rogan talk, and I'm watching it for me. So I like watching. Again, it may not be the angle, but I think the camera, so to speak, but it may be what you're seeing as opposed to what this person sees. So I do think it's important, for people that are doing what you're doing and stuff like that to, be vocal about it, give your inside. And, again, because for me, I'm not like, I don't think it matters so much of getting to the people who already know and love the sport. Mm-hmm. We're already buying the T-shirts and buying the handles and buying the chalk and doing all this stuff. It's getting the new people. You know what I'm saying? That's what my goal is. That's what I told Kyle, when we were talking about King of Cali. We were talking a lot, up into it. Like I said, I met Kyle, when he came out for one of again, for me, I put up, I got to Vegas. I moved to Vegas. There wasn't like a presence on social media or whatever. I knew I'm pretty good at that stuff. Within moving here, I moved here in September. And by October, I already had Devin Larratt at one of our practices. Nice. So, and it was a big thing, and and I take pride in that. I had Michael Todd out here so far a couple times. Sarah Backman came out multiple times. Devin came multiple times. And, I got to be friends with these guys. I have Devin and Todd, Michael's phone numbers, and again, not because of anything I can offer them. I've just been I try to be a good guy to people, when someone emails me, I try to email them back right away and just say thank you, and like I said, from you and I, we talked a little bit ago, and, I was like, hey man, I just love what you do. And, wanted to get a chance to get on the show. And, so again, I appreciate you having me on. It's cool for me.
I agree, and my whole thing is like, support, right? Let's talk about that for a second. How many straps do I own, right? I got Velcro straps. I got straps from, not Armbet, but Primo. I got straps from Lion King. I got straps from Easy Roll. So, for me, I become a strap collector, but that's, supporting it. T-shirts, all kind of stuff, which, by the way, I need to get a T-shirt from you and Sarah, by the way. So that's coming pretty soon.
Send me your address, man. Text me your address and what size you need, and I'll hook you up.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And then
text me your address and stuff.
And let's talk about the organizations, because I know that I think sometimes this pandemic that we're going through kind of created some good stuff. All right, so we all know before COVID was even in existence, and the biggest thing out there was WAL, right? And you kind of hung your hat because there was a season. Okay, springtime, it's WL time, and by the time September rolls around, they were wrapping up their season. And now when the pandemic came, Wall kind of shut his doors along with everything else, but now it hasn't come back. But it created some of these dream matches. Like, you think we're going to see a Corey West versus Todd Hutchins, when Todd is contracted by the WAL, who, by the way, will be on my show later tonight, Corey West. So y'all tune in for that.
Yeah, I saw Corey. Yeah, Corey's
right.
Will be on there. I saw that. I'll be watching that for sure.
But some of that stuff created good, opportunities. Chance Shaw
I agree.
versus, John Brzenk, Whereas if you go to the Fatal 4-Way, well, Jordan Seale's a Wall guy, and so is Michaelo. Well, that would have happened had Wall been going right now. Probably not. So I think, there is some something to say about these.
Would Michael Todd and Devin have happened under the rule set if they weren't? But you know what I'm saying? So, that's the two biggest guys. Granted, we would have saw it in WAL. But for me personally, I like seeing it because I love Bill Collins, and him and his son, his wife, and nothing but cool with me and my wife. So I love Bill Collins, but to see Bill get that opportunity to go to Dubai, Devin in Dubai, on a WAF table, for me that was really cool to see personally, and that most likely wouldn't have happened if like you said, the happy accident of the COVID thing and the leagues and everything like that came to be. So I thought it was a cool thing to see.
Yeah, and again, and the beat goes on. And now John Brzezinski, who is now, I think he took his name out of the top 8 hat, 95 kilo class. Now he's pulling, Paul Lynn's coming up.
Paul,
I'm
trying to make it out there. I'm trying to make it out to West Virginia or Virginia. I think Virginia, right? To that in October. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to get out there to compete there. If not, I'm going to try to compete up in Reno. But I'm trying to get to, because it's like they're like the same weekend. I think October 24th, the AAA's in Reno, but for me, I kind of want to get out of Nevada and get out of Vegas any kind of opportunity I can, just for my own sanity, and it would be fun to go to that comp in Virginia.
I'm gonna say this that weekend, and I'm gonna say this now, and for everybody watching, they know that date right there is going to be monumental, at least for the States. Why I say that? Because you got 3 events that same weekend, but they're all in different regions, okay? Out west, you got, the one in Reno like you're talking about, right? That's going to be a good event. Then you go to the Midwest, Kansas City, the Fallen Heroes. I'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
I got a date with Mr. Roger Learn on the table, left hand. So that'll be a big event. Then you go farther east. That's when the Brzezinski versus Paul Lynn match will happen. All that happens the same day. Okay, so that alone will get everyone's attention. Now you got to go, okay, well, who's filming what? Who's going to be at what event? You got West, Midwest, East, Southern region, Mid-Atlantic, call it what you want. That area right down there. So all the attention is going to be, take your pick. Some way, somehow, someone's going to be filming something. Take your pick.
Again, it's a good thing. Hey, Sunday footballs, you got how many games playing simultaneously? So it's not like it can't be done. You know what I mean? And if you're a big fat fan of you're a big Steelers fan because, you're from Steelers. Like, for me, I'm a Steelers fan just because I'm from Pittsburgh. And
so am I. We're going to put the beat down this weekend. Hey. TJ Watt signed that new deal, so it's all now. I'm telling you right now.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
I
know you like Pittsburgh. I know you were from Pittsburgh. Yeah, I was born and raised on the South Side.
Oh, okay.
So and then went to Baldwin High School. That's where I graduated from Baldwin Whitehall area. But So I'm a Pittsburgh guy, and so I and my wife's from Michigan, so she watches the Lions. So, but again, my point is if my game's on first or our game's on the same time, hey, that's what you watch replays for. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's a good thing. It shouldn't be looked as competition. It should be looked at the sport growing, So again, back to what I was saying, we were talking originally, I think we should all be supporting all these events, not watch my event, watch my channel, that shouldn't intimidate anybody. It should all be out of love. We should all be promoting one another, and I know there's people out there that are like, again, because they want the monetization, they want the YouTube likes, they want the this and they want the that. And hey, I get it. Who doesn't? I go to work for money. I'm not going there for charity. So I get it. But you got to remember the reason that first day you got on the table, that reason you're doing this, the reason you put up your first video. If it was from the beginning, screw everybody, I'm trying to make money, I would personally say there's a lot better ways to make money than arm wrestling videos.
Like I said, I do this for the love of it, and it's always going to be for the love of it. I don't give a crap if I got $5 from this or I got $500 from this. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna still do what I do because this is what I like to do. Yeah. And
I don't think there's anybody. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that ever went up to the table before you had your first arm. Wait, how much do I get paid again for this? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when little kids are outside playing basketball. That now granted they may have a dream one day to be the next Michael Jordan or LeBron James, but when those kids are playing basketball for fun, they're having fun, and that's exactly what it is. And unfortunately, the weird parts of our brains, the selfishness or whatever you want to call it, come into play, and they can distract us from the original goal. And like you said, we have these trolls now, and the this and the that. And I mean, to me, While it's funny at sometimes, you know, and that's fun. I love laugh. I mean, hey, I make fun of everything. I make fun of myself all the time. But if we're trying to keep a certain thing professional, let it be professional. You know what I mean? And because again, there's going to be people that are going to be new into the sport that will just be like, you know what is a sport? It's nothing but, you know, a bunch of people making fun of other people, and that may be enough just to push them away from it. Unfortunately, you know, before they even get a chance to see what people like you and I, guys like you and I, love about it, you know. So I think we have to be careful with stuff like that. Again, that's just my opinion.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier this morning, and speaking another with the memes and stuff and all the trolls and stuff, it's a topic that used to not be talked about. It's kind of like you kind of turn your head, but now it's so open, so out there. You know, what are your thoughts about the HGH and all that kind of Flintstone vitamins and quote unquote pancakes? All call it what you want. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I think this. So maybe my take's a little bit different than most people think. I know guys like RVJ say, you know, right? And he wants everyone. This is what RVJ. I don't want to misquote him, but I believe, if you can tell me if I'm wrong, he thinks everyone should be on a level playing field. Okay, well, let's look at that for a second. Okay, so let's look at that though for a second. If you come into the sport, or someone comes in the sport, person A, and you know that person is, you know, his family was athletes, he's this, that, whatever. Guy never worked out a day in his life, but dude, you look like an RVJ where you're 6 foot, you got a giant hand, naturally able to put on muscle. Let's just take like a young version of, let's take RVJ, right, you know, or someone just looks like him. Now you take a same age, everything. Let's take a Jonah Hill.
Right.
Are you going to tell me, we can disagree or agree to disagree, but in my opinion, there's no way in shit. I can say shit, right? There's no way in heck.
This is a rated R show, man, so you can say what you want.
There's no way in shit that those two gentlemen are born on the same level playing field.
Right.
And it's like that analogy of you ever see that analogy of like a box where it's like they give a short guy, a medium guy, and all the 3 kids trying to look over the fence, and they all give them the same box. Now they got the same box, right? Mm-hmm. But still, one guy is now looking way over the fence. One guy can still barely see over. The other guy can't. Level playing field is giving the short guy a 4-foot box, the medium guy a 2-foot box, and the tall guy no box. That's level playing field. So, in my opinion, when it comes, now granted, I'm generalizing here because people will attack what I'm saying. But what I'm saying in general, not everybody. I know. How tall are you?
5'11".
Okay, I'm 5'7". I wish I was 5'11". Now, should I be like, screw you, Jody Williams, man, you tall motherfucker? No, I wish I was, because there's guys that are Oompa Loompa height. You know what I mean? Like, you know, hey, look, Isaac Luna is a shorter guy. He may wish he was taller. Isaac's a beautiful man and great body, all that stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, but don't tell me that a guy. Now you got Devin, who's 6'6", or you know, Derek Smith, 6'8".
Yeah.
You know, according to my commentary, he was about 9'3", but you know, Derek's like 6'8".
Right.
And but all I know is that's a giant dude. Now you can't tell me that. Let's just take you, Derek, and I. We're not on the same level.
No.
You know what I mean?
Because
and now when you're talking about, you know, the king of the best guy in this, there's no way that we're a disadvantage. So when it comes to your original question, what do I think about it? Well, I think just like anything, I think there's use in abuse. I think there's use versus abuse. Just you know, hey, I like a nice glass of scotch on a Friday night to relax.
Right.
I don't think a nice bottle of scotch is a good idea. You know
exactly.
what I mean? And so that's where I'm at. I think here's the other thing. I think when it comes to, I saw a comment, I think on one of the forums, why is there amateurs and amateur arm wrestling? It's just like saying, why is there high school football? You got to introduce people by, you know, at the level that they're at, or else they're never going to want to participate. So the problem is, if I were out there talking to any new arm wrestler coming into the sport, I would say as an amateur, never weight cut. Your body can only do weight cuts, water cuts, but I'm not talking about dietary cutting, but water cutting, dehydration. You can only do that so many times because each time you do it, and I've weight cut it before for jiu-jitsu, I've weight cut it before for arm wrestling. And I don't know if you ever done it, like the water cut, the hydration, that ain't fun.
I've never done that before because I was never a wrestler in high school per se. Okay. So when I was cutting weight, I probably didn't do it the right way, which come competition, I was weak as shit. And I told myself, I'll never do it again.
Exactly. I think, and there's guys that dehydrate and everything. Again, nothing against that. I get that at a professional level. I don't think amateur arm wrestlers I don't think they should be taking anything. Anything, what I'm saying as far as the pancake stuff and all that stuff. Because just like anything, I think when we're seeing some of these guys get injuries and this and that, it's because their muscles are too strong for their bones, tendons, and ligaments. I think you need to have some time into the sport or any sport. I think you need to get to your physical, around your physical max of your ability. You know what I'm saying? Again, yours may be different than mine. That's where genetics come into play. But I think, these guys that are like, hey, if you're a young guy or a new person in the sport and you're like, dude, I want to be at the top of the sport, or, and you're like 6 months in, I just think you need to reevaluate a whole bunch of stuff in your life. But again, to say, to look at performance enhancement in every sport. I mean, I'm talking about, you can't tell me if you think that the little the girls that are in a female gymnastics team, if you don't think they're taking something, I don't know what to tell you. I think I'd be like, you're misinformed. But whether you're playing basketball, football, maybe the badminton people aren't doing anything, but if you pretty much just like Nate Diaz, everybody's on steroids.
Well, okay, here's the thing, and I'm glad Nate Diaz, right? It's the comment I'm about to make. I'm either going to gain friends or I'm going to lose friends. This is how it is, right? It's almost like this, and I'll use it in real life terms. Okay, so you got two people, and they want to buy a house, right? So either A, you got the person on this side busting their asses, working all kind of overtime, saving their money to buy that one house, against the guy who's a trust fund baby and gets the house like that, right? You're shooting for the same thing, but there's two ways of getting it, right? And that may or may not make sense, but what I'm trying to say is that it's not fair for the guy that's been busting his ass, working 6, maybe 7 days a week, working all kind of overtime to save money to get to that point, whereas you got the trust fund baby where that money is just handed to him. Okay, I'm buying that house before you do. And those guys ain't got to put the work in. That's fucked up, but it is life.
I agree with you. But who doesn't care? The person who's selling the house.
There you go.
That's who doesn't care. So you got to look at your audience. You got to look at what matters the most. Are you looking at people who want you to admire you for the hard worker or the this or the that? Or are you just trying to sell the house? Because if you're the guy trying to sell the house, you want the best offer. Let's put it the other way around, and I'm like, I love these kind of conversations. Yeah. And because again, if you're the one selling your house, you're selling your house that you worked for hard. And one guy says, hey man, I'm a blue collar guy. I'm working my butt off. I can offer you $100,000 for your house, but your house is worth $300,000.
Right.
Another guy comes in and says, hey, I'll give you $300 cash right now. And he's a trust fund baby. Now again, there may be people that are like, you know what? It matters more to me that my house goes to a hardworking. Maybe it is. I know for me, I'm going to probably especially for my family and my wife, I'm going to sell my house for what it's worth to get the most money out of it possible.
Right.
So, and so again, there's a reality though. There's really no wrong, to me, in my opinion, there's no wrong answers when it comes to, because at the end of the day, I tell everybody, do what makes you happy. Because this world, it would be a lot better. Happy people don't hurt people. Sad people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. And if you're a happy person, you're probably going to be you're going to probably treat people better and this and this and that. So whatever to me gets you a good night's rest and a good night's sleep, whether it's pancakes or going. You know what? I'm the most natural guy in the whole world. I've never even taken aspirin. That's how natural I am. Right. If that makes you sleep better at night, then hey, more power to you. My thing is though, back to the original thing we were talking about. I think if people spent less time criticizing what other people are doing and working on themselves more, they realize that playing field's a lot more level. Because I know people personally and I'm sure you do, that are on big time cycles, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about bicycles. And, they're on big time
right,
cycles.
Right.
And, and like I said, not Pee Wee Herman's bike or big wheels, but they're on big time pancakes.
Right.
And I know they don't feel like anything. And I know guys that have, just come in, they're mechanics and they're doing whatever. They said, yeah, I'll try that arm wrestling thing. And holy shit, those guys are strong. So to me, I think do what you want to do what makes you happy. At the end of the day, the grunting theme is, why don't you just worry about you? You do you, boo-boo.
You have to.
And,
you have to.
And you know what I mean? Because, again, your life's going to be better the more you're focused on what you're doing. And if you're constantly, when they say winners are focused on winning, losers focus on the winners.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I think that's really true, or losers focus on even not just winners, but losers focus on other people. And for me, I love to support my friends. I love to support the community. I love to support, this sport. It needs it. And, and if you hate me in the process, well, that's okay. You know what I mean? I've let myself down before for myself. So, I'm like, hey, I'm going to start my diet on Monday and I don't start it till Friday. I've let myself down. I have to forgive myself. I certainly have to be able to forgive other people. That's just me. You know what I mean? So
here's the deal, man. And do I have friends who are doing cycles or whatnot? Yeah. Do I judge them? No. It's not for me. I don't judge them because they do what they think they need to do. I'm not going to start talking to them. I'm not going to stop being their friend, because I'll say this. And here I go. I'm using the term, right? 1998. What was that famous for? Especially in baseball. It was the McGuire Sosa, home run thing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then Barry Bonds got involved.
The Andrew stuff. Yeah, everyone's
right.
on Andrew.
So
yep.
Did they hit a lot of home runs? Well, yes, they did. Here's my deal. You still have to have hand and eye coordination to hit the fucking ball. My point being is that I've beaten people who are on a cycle this year, and again, you can cycle up, but if you don't know how to arm wrestle, it's not going to fucking matter.
Well, not even
that's what I'm trying to say. Like they can juice up as much as they want to, but if you don't know how to arm wrestle, it ain't going to fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
And that's the thing. I think, unfortunately, someone like Levon gets a lot of shit. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure his pancake regimen is far more than I could possibly imagine. But the reality is, that guy can arm wrestle.
Yeah.
That guy is a smart man. Just like Dennis Saplenkoff. Yeah, when he first got into sport, he's this big mutant, whatever. But, dude, Dennis knows how to arm wrestle. You watch the way Dave adjusts that first round, and you see, you could see him adjusting his hand and Levon just going, I'm going to clamp on this dude, and I'm not letting him run away.
Yeah.
Now, he arm wrestled Dave smart. And, again, like I said, all the whatever pancakes in the world don't make you smart.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we talk into the limitless drug or Adderall. Maybe that does, and we'll see what about you tell people say, wait a second, you got to be smart. You got to, take brain drugs. But again, that doesn't make you smart. And I guarantee Levon, I know dudes that are taking this and that. And I'm like, how often are you in the gym? One time a week, I know guys that are taking the shit that are in the gym 7 days a week.
Right.
So I don't believe that Levon is slacking in his training. I think he's not only training smart. Again, back to what we were talking about at the beginning, East versus West. What's the big difference? I think it's the approach. For me, most of the practices I've been to, and there's some that aren't, which are amazing. I talked to Justin Bishop in Hawthorne, and he was saying to me, most of his practices, or at least for him, there's very little pinning involved. And that, to me, that's good training. And they're, working on specific movements on the table. Then I've been to other practices that are literally just unrefereed matches, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're just glorified tournaments. That's basically what it is.
That's all they are. No, don't get me wrong. There's a time and place to have ready goes and all that stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I said, doing my MMA analysis, doing jiu-jitsu, I could do a drill of a move 5 times a week, 6 days a week, 7 days. I can drill moves. Mm-hmm. And that's like, I'm working on a rear naked choke or an arm bar.
Muscle memory.
Fighting me. You're not fighting me in that arm. Like if you and I are training together and we're lurking our arm bar, when you're extending your arm all the way and you're being a nice training partner. And then what are you doing? You start, when I get the move correct, you start giving me a little more resistance, then a little more resistance, and a little more resistance.
That's what's
the
up.
reality, just like jiu-jitsu, what's the most popular class in jiu-jitsu? Open mat, a free-for-all, where everyone just, because of course, it's fun. It's way more fun to roll. It's way more fun to pin people. It's way more fun to compete than it is to drill. But champions are made in the drilling. We can't see, you can take like Dustin Poirier, who's come out, he's fighting again for the belt soon. There's no way he can hard spar once a week, even once a month. Because he'd have black and blue marks and hurt. Now, we can't see. Now, if you grant in our sport, once you're black and blue or you have bruising, it's way too late, But I don't think we can see, and we have a real understanding of the damage that we're causing to our arms, our bones, our tendons, our ligaments. But, doing this kind of hard sparring week after week after week.
Right.
Where I know, because I'll tell you some insight. Like I said, being in Singapore, I've got to train with some guys from Kazakhstan. How they train is they do a gym workout every day before their arm wrestling workout so they can be weaker on the table, if that makes sense. So they don't hurt the person. So they can go ready goes and stuff at a weakened state, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I get it.
And that's how they train in Kazakhstan. Now, we all know, look how, I think pound for pound, who's better than those guys? They got like 130-pound girls that can probably beat some of our big boys, So
yeah, well, I mean, it goes to show you it's the training, right? It's
Absolutely.
We all have that one guy who fucking practices at noon. That motherfucker comes rolling in at fucking 1:15 when everybody's fucking burnt out. He comes in and cleans house. I'm like, okay, then you're cheating yourself, because number one, it's a big F you to the team, but number two, it's because they're selfish or whatever they got going on. If it's a couple times here and that's one thing, but when it's a consistent thing, it's like, okay, how are you supposed to be helping your team out? But at the same,
just helping yourself,
right? But at the same time,
you're doing a disservice to yourself.
When they take glory in that kind of stuff, then it's like, well, what the fuck? Then you go to a tournament and then you find out you get blasted or whatever, and then you don't do so good. You wonder why. I'm like, I know. You got to even the playing field.
I saw it in jiu-jitsu all the time. The guy that's always late for the warm-ups, he comes in, he's super fresh, we start rolling, and he's got, he's got like tons of energy. Well, because we're all already our knees are all wet. Our rash guards are already sweaty from just the warm-ups.
Yeah.
So and again, that's what I'm talking about. Back to our training, because I think like what you said is a really big thing, and it's such, unfortunately, the people that are responding on these forums with simply they're on more drugs. Man, I feel sorry. Not I feel sorry for you, but I feel for you because you're really, really misinformed. And I'm not saying that because I know everything, but that you're just misinformed, and you're putting someone else's hard work, and you're really discrediting it by saying it's the one thing. It's never just one thing. Champions are made with lots of sacrifice, lots of, it may be lots of pancakes, but it's sacrifice. It's smart training. It's not just hard training. It's smart training. One of the things, like, because I've taken courses with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell, and I learned so much from him. And, my favorite thing, he says, I don't know if you know this quote, people say to him all the time, they're like, what's the most important exercise? And he says, I give the same answer to everybody. What are you weakest at? And I love that, because that's always been the thing. Because let's be honest, you like cable curling 130 pounds. That's a cool video. I'll tune in to watch you freaking break a PR. But no one wants to see you if you need more pronation. No one wants to see you doing pronating exercises for 25 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of boring. Right. And the reality is, I remember being a young guy in the gym, doing, what I mean? We all know that, you can do those like supersets, and the last set you're doing is shoulder flies with just 5-pound weights, and you're struggling. If a girl walks by when you're in your, you're like young guy, trying to pick up chicks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That reality is, that's actually the stuff that's going to get you the most gains. But you got the guy that's got 45s, he's swinging them around and everything like that, because that looks cool. Hey, I hope really want. Meanwhile, when you find out later on, like, the only guys that care about your gains are other dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The girls don't care at all, But
they don't care. But then we'll see. Is all that going to translate on the table? That's what it comes down to. Is it what you do is going to translate on the table? And like I said, there was a buddy of mine. I'm not trying to put him on blast, but we just recently had a super match, back in the summer. And, he was outlifting me. He was getting, the buildup was there. He was outlifting me, and I said, bro, I mean, if you look at the, just looking at us side by the eye test, right? Like the guys love the eye test, right? So if you do an eye test,
roll your sleeves up.
Yeah.
Roll your sleeves up on.
I weighed more than he did, but he was thicker than me. I think I weighed maybe at the time 5 pounds more than he did, but he lifted thick, shoulders, arms, all that kind of stuff. He was putting in the work. And I said, bro, if this was a strict curl contest, you probably would have won. If this was you and me on the Olympia stage, you probably would have won. But this ain't bodybuilding. This ain't powerlifting. This is arm wrestling. And what he did, it didn't translate to the table. What I did. And that's how, when it all said and done, I won. And I told him, we're good friends. We were friends before, but I think after our match, we were better friends because I kind of told him, like, look, man, this is, why you lost, because, all the work you put in, are you actually putting it on the table? Are you using that strength on the table? That's what it comes down to.
That just shows there's two good dudes. You being a good dude for telling that guy that, and if he was receptive to that, he's a good dude too. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people don't want to hear shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't want to hear when they're, especially don't want to hear when they're wrong. And like I said, for me, I'm the kind of person that when I watch a match, even when I watch my losses way more than my wins.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because your wins, you're like, okay, I know what, but I want to know why I lost. Why am I getting turned over? And then I want to go back and work on that. But a lot of people training keep doing the exercises they're good at. But as long as you keep doing the exercises you're good at, you're never going to get good at the ones you're bad at. And the ones that you're bad at are usually the reason you're probably losing on the table. And, but again, you're weaker at those exercises, so no one wants to do them. I know for me growing up, in high school, I was never good at bench pressing.
Right.
And so I avoided it because I was, I just was self-conscious. I wasn't good at it. I was always good at doing curls. I could curl about as much as I could bench press in high school. And, but why was it? What's the catch-22? It's a twofold thing. I'm better at curling because I like doing it more, and I curl more because I'm better at it.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of things in our sport, and I see a lot of guys, I'm sure you do too, that they go to the table and they're always doing their fucking bread and butter move.
Oh yeah.
And that's great when it works against that guy, or works against somebody. But what happens when you hit that dude and that bread and butter move don't work against? Again, Coach Ray said that about Dan Mosier. Now Dan's a freaking stud, man. I mean, I talk about a guy looks good naked, no homo. But Dan's a stud. But you saw, once his move failed, all he was able to do was his same move, and he was just trying to do it harder and harder or quicker, and it was just, I mean, dude, I was called, not that I'm so smart, but we were watching that match live, and I said, what I think is going to happen, I think Dan's going to accelerate hard, and I think they're going to slip, and in the strap, that same acceleration, his wrist, he's going to lose his wrist. And then the very second round, I said he's going to go harder and block guaranteed elbow fouls. What happened? He elbow fouled after he lost that one round. And, and again, who am I to critique Dan Mosier? I wish I had his strength and power. But again, you can see where the flaw in the training lies, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, you got to be comfortable at where you're weak. And in a strength sport with strong guys, it's a big ego thing that a lot of guys don't want to, you know what I mean? They don't want to go down that path. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question for you and everybody out there. All right. And just say yes for people watching the show. Just say yes. Okay. Jason and everybody out there, do y'all like baseball? Jason, you like baseball?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Everybody out there you watching, do you like baseball? Yes or no? Because I'm going to say something and I want your opinion on that. We as arm wrestlers, I like to consider us pitchers in arm wrestling. This is why I say this, okay? Because when you're a pitcher, how many pitches you got in your toolbox? It relates to arm wrestling. It may not make sense at first, but what I'm about to tell you may make sense. You may agree, you may not disagree. Listen up. Super matches. Like you said, Daniel Mosier, he threw his fastball. Didn't work. What other pitches do you got left? Okay? This is how I break stuff down. I'm a weirdo. I'll be the first to admit that.
I love it. I already know where you're going. I love it.
Right.
Love it.
So
you know, I'm smiling because I love it.
Here it is, right? If I throw somebody my fastball, one or two things are going to happen. If I pin the guy, he strikes out. If he stops my hit and pins me, he hit a home run off me. If we slip, it's a foul ball. Now, let's just say we're going best of 5. Let's say we're going 6 rounds. I throw the guy, my opponent, my fastball, and he smacks me, stops it. Do I have a curveball in my arsenal? Do I have a changeup in my arsenal? In other words, Daniel Mosier, everybody else, if you give him all you got in your first, match and it doesn't work out, you better come up with a fucking another pitch. You better come up with a hook game or a press game or something else or a strap game, because if you threw your best at your opponent and they stopped that, you got to go, fuck, now what? That's the only way I can kind of relate that to baseball and Supermatch. It kind of links together. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
I don't know. It may or may not.
It's a beautiful analogy because it makes perfect sense. But again, what I feel like what happens with a lot of guys, like you say, you throw them that fastball, they crack it out of the park, and then the next pitch, here's the reality: if you threw your fastest pitch the first match, do you think your second pitch is going to be faster than that? No, not without getting out of control and being a bit reckless. Right. Now, in our sport or in baseball, you throw your fastest strike. Now you throw a harder pitch, guaranteed it's probably going to be out of the strike zone. Right. On our sport, it would be a harder pitch that's basically or harder to hit, and you probably got a chance of elbow fouling, or even worst case scenario, maybe injuring your arm. That would be worst case. But I mean, I love it. It's a beautiful analogy. And again, my training, I personally like I have a practice tomorrow. Dude, I'm still beat up from King of Cali. Everybody beat me up out there. I got to pull with, at legendary Alan Fisher. You know what I'm saying? So I got to pull with Dallas. He feels like a damn truck. And, and Oleg Mosley, all these guys that I consider buddies of mine, and, great training partners as well. And, but, I'm going in tomorrow knowing probably my A game or my A game and my B game, or even some of my C game is probably not going to be that good. Right. But I'm going to see what other pitch I may be able to work on at practice tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
You have to.
So I love that analogy. I love it. It's perfect because it makes so much sense. And but yeah, I do. I think it's just such a beautiful analogy because it is. And I want to be able to dip into my toolbox and have change-ups, curveballs, this, that, and and like I said, for me, whenever I'm looking at the live chat right now, and Arm Wrestling Planet, ET's in there, and I had my first super match after a Cali tournament. My first super match I ever had was with ET, right. And he beat me, man. And I told him, I was like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me want to train so hard, and I became good. I like to think of myself as friends with ET, and shout out to Arm Wrestling Planet. But man, and and I went back and about a year later or so, and went to a practice and arm wrestled with ET, and he said, "Bro, you inspired me. How strong you got." And I was like, "Dude, it was because you inspired me because I hate losing, man. And not in an egotistical way." But it fires me up and it makes me go, what did I do? And man, I watched that match so many times and go, man, what did I do wrong? What did I do? Why couldn't I finish it? Why? And I love that. And I love that stuff about the sport. I love that watching a teammate grow or a competitor grow, or you come back and look at Derek and Tom Nelson. You know what I mean? Look, Derek was just on a different level that day, now, and man, Tom was so, complimentary of him. He even got a little bit emotional. I don't know if you saw that in the live stream. He was like, he was legitimately happy for Derek, and that's what our sport needs. That's to me that's true, friend. That's being a man, not being able to show some emotion, going, dude, you're the better guy today, man. Hats off to you.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something else why we need that. Here it is. Check this out. I had a super match years ago. I have plenty of them, right? I've been in the sport 11 years. There was a super match I had back in 2013. It was my second ever super match, but it was probably one of the most memorable ones because that beatdown I suffered taught me a lot, okay? He just happens to be in the fucking chat as we speak, So 2013, Boise, Idaho, one Justin Green out of Utah, right? And I felt confident. My team, was getting me ready for the match and stuff. And at the time, knowing what I know now, I didn't really know then. Oh, yeah, you had teammates. Oh, yeah, you're going to win, this, that, and the other. But we didn't do an actual breakdown of like what I could do if he does this or if he does that, right? So here's the thing. Justin Green's in the chat. Okay, he knows how I feel about him. He beat the brakes off me, 3-0. And I have no, issue with that. If I lose, I'll lose, whatever. So this goes back to what you're saying about, friends, in the sport, supporting each other. I went to Boise. He drove up to Utah, or he drove up from Utah, and he took me to the woodshed. 3-0. 3 goose egg I lost to him. So what do? I was so impressed with him. And, yeah, you kind of smack talk each other, this, that, and the other. I got done, and I bought him a drink, and I bought his wife a drink. And I said, look, dude, I'm in. And ever since then, we've been good friends. And it's stuff like that, because I didn't have to do that. But I was like, you know what? That's a cool dude, man, and never met the guy other than, hearsay, but never met the guy. But when you get to know people, that kind of stuff, to me, sticks with you forever, So I will always be grateful of Justin and his wife, Trinity, because those are some good people. We've been friends ever since then, And we kind of joke about it now, oh, remember back in Boise, this, that, and the other. And like I said before, those are the kind of things that stick with you. This sport can morph into like a sorority for the ladies and then a fraternity for the guys, and it's things like that. We could talk smack and I win, you win, whatever. And then all of a sudden, when it's all said and done, hey, let's go share a beer and just chit chat. For some reason,
at the end of the day, if we're all really, what I'm saying, we're all serving the same thing, we're all under this, serving the same master, you know what I mean, if you would.
Right.
And we should all be looking at this thing going like, hey, we all live in the same house, you know what I mean, and we're all, and again, because the sport's not big enough to have the rivalry inside the house, you know what I'm saying. If we have a small 1-bedroom and you live there, I live there, my wife, we better get along or else we'll all probably kill each other. You know
right, exactly.
If you live in a big ass mansion like the NFL would have, it's okay. I don't like you. I'm going to go into East Wing for a couple weeks and cool off. You know what I mean? Or I may never see you again because my house is so big. But to me, the house is too small right now. What we shouldn't be working on is the turmoil in the house, but supporting it to make the house grow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we should all be doing our share. Where if you're like, again, you may have a talent, forget the arm wrestling stuff, but it's where our talents are in to build the sport. If you have a talent for, the YouTube stuff and the interviews, that's you that's you putting a roof on it. And maybe I have a talent with teaching and the commentary stuff or whatever.
Exactly.
And that's me turning electricity on. And Cal Depew, he's really good at, at promoting and this and that. And so he's the carpenter, and we're all together building this big house. That's what I think we should be doing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And hey, get some, and and if the guys get tired, give them some pancakes, and hopefully they can do some overtime.
I like waffles, honestly, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
Too, from what I understand, as long as you got the maple syrup on it, I've been putting maple syrup on everything, so it's weird. Right. The only thing that's grown on me is my blood sugar and my waistline. So I gotta PM them and make sure I'm doing it correctly.
Oh, I got you, man. Because I'm telling you right now. I know. Come next week, and this is where my anxiety starts to kick in, right?
And Worlds is it next week already?
Yeah, IFL Worlds is next week, and my anxiety is kicking in high gear right now. So it's weird for me right now because I'm not really training. I'm not. I'm just sitting up here with this fucking hand gripper, just trying to get some blood in my arm and stuff. I haven't been on the table. Haven't been working out in my gym in my garage. I've just been kind of staying stagnant, but I'm going on walks, making sure my weight's down, that kind of thing.
But let me ask you this though: is it anxiety or like that nervous energy of like I can't wait to perform?
It changes because I wish a month ago I was like, man, would it fucking hurry up already? And now that we're like within a week, it's like, oh, okay, now it's starting to get real. Like tonight, after my interview with Corey West, I'm gonna be, laying stuff out. Okay, I'm taking this, taking that, because the whole family's coming. Wife, kids, mother-in-law, sister-in-law. nephew, nieces, and your significant,
Well,
they're all
you're,
coming.
you're in Florida, man. You're at Disneyland, so I mean
Right.
that's like the best place ever. I'm sad that again, just financially, and I started a new job back in May, like right after Hawthorne, and my wife is a gym manager, general manager for Eric Spoto's gym, and here in Vegas, and so that that's what we're working on too is. We're trying to get a Vegas tournament, going, some super matches. We're looking to try to get. I've kind of been talking with Kyle a bit, talking with Eric, trying to get a chance shot Eric's photo super match, and because I think that's a win-win for both guys. I don't think that's a no-lose situation there, but that's one of the matches we want to feature. And again, just talks right now. I've been I know you asked Kyle about North Cali versus South Cal, that kind of thing. And
right.
I talked to Kyle about an idea I had, like a big, like an actual North versus East, like 5-6 teams.
Yeah.
And I told Kyle about it but from all over. You know what I mean? Like a North versus South versus East versus West, and and you're basically representing Cali team. You know what I'm saying? You're representing the West Coast team. And like I said, I'm trying to brainstorm stuff with some people that either mainly it's finances. Have some more money than me. But unfortunately, like I said, I'm just sad that we're not. I got my shirts. My wife got her shirt for Worlds, but unfortunately, we're unable to go. So, but all the best to you, man. It's gonna be fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that because my goal is, and here's something weird. In arm wrestling circles and conversations, we know to win a gold medal in the open class holds more water than winning gold in the masters class. Okay, and I'll be right. We do this sport for a reason, one reason or another, right? You want to be the best at it, right? I don't know, and you can answer this question. Anybody out there in the chat can answer this question. Feel free to chime in once I say this. Okay, here we go. How many people do you know, and I wouldn't say brag, but how many people do you know out there where they say, my number one goal is to be the best masters puller out there? Because that's my goal. Here I am. I'm halfway to 46 years old, okay? And I'll be 46. I'm halfway to 50, right? So here's the deal. I want to be the best masters puller out there. There ain't too many people that will say that. There ain't too many people that will talk about that, right? Because for some, masters, once you hit that elite level, they feel that if I pull masters, that's signifying that, I can't cut it no more in the open class.
Right.
I will pull both, but my main journey is to be one of the best masters puller. I don't know how many people actually say that out loud or in general, but that's what my goal is in this sport. That's what I feel. That's what I'm doing. So,
but again, two things. My answer to that would be, who cares what anyone else thinks? You got to do you,
Right.
And I think what's interesting though in our sport, and again, correct me if you think I'm wrong. What's interesting in our sport, the older dudes are way stronger than the younger dudes. You know what I mean? Like you can look at MMA. Yeah, I mean you can look at MMA where your reaction time slows down and your flexibility and your chin and all that stuff like that. Where hey, all I know is I'd rather arm wrestle a 20-year-old kid than Bob Brown. You know what I mean? I know that. Or Alan Fisher. And so, to me, it's almost like, I think it's almost a lack of awareness of masters. I don't know about you, but I've been in several tournaments where I'm like, damn, again, because I'm old enough to pull masters as well. And I'm like, damn, the open class is easier right now than the masters class. And, I think it's just, a stigma in sports in general when you hear masters or, other than golf, the masters, that's the best. You know what I mean? If you win the masters, that's the thing. So, but I just think it's a perspective thing, oh, you're in the older guy class or maybe younger guys. But again, I think in the circle of our sport, the older guys ain't no joke, man. And, and that's the beauty of our sport too, where, like I said, I could feel already my body at 42, 43 when I got back in arm wrestling, like I said, 3 years ago, doing jiu-jitsu, my body, my neck, man, and my back, I just couldn't handle it. But, where now, I'm still fast. I'm still fast on the table, so I love the fact that I don't have this, like, you see other athletes going 35 for most physical athletes is kind of like, you're already talking about retiring,
Right.
Where there's guys in our sport, you can start at, Todd Hutchins, I think, started at 38, 35, mid-30s.
I started at
35,
so, there
you go.
Because I did other sports. I did other sports leading up to that. So that's the only reason why I started late in life, but.
Same, exactly. But I think that that's so cool of our sport where, you realistically, you and I are on the same age. What are you, 75? 1975 you're born?
Born in February of 76.
Okay, so we're both 70. So just a couple months. So I'm June 76. So we're both 70. But we're guys that born 19. There's not very many other combat sports that you could be born in 1976 and still be relevant. You know what I mean? So I think that's just such a cool thing of our sport. And I know, but I'm sure you feel the same way. You don't see an end in sight right now. You're like, I'm getting better every year. Todd Hutchins is, in his 50s, he's better. Alan Fisher is in his 60s. Just won, King of Cali.
Right.
Man, like, to me, that's seeing Alan there, and I'm seeing it right by the camera, and watching how fast his hit still is and how aggressive he is, and, on the table, and just such a sweet dude, off the table. But actually, he's pretty aggressive. He punches me in the chest, telling me to use my pecs. But you know what I mean? That's inspiring to me. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this, like, kind of the stigma in life where, hey, I know young people that are old at heart. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, I'm in my 30s. I might as well get fat and die, and I'm like, I don't look like that. I don't feel that way at all, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love looking at other dudes in the sport like you, going to represent, competing still. And it's inspiring, and behind one another and lift each other up as opposed to saying, oh, this guy is this and making fun of this person. Hey, yeah. I don't know. To me, there's just no reason for it. There's some fun. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I like having fun. But when it comes to trying to disrespect another human being, I just don't, or disrespect the sport. To me, I just think there's better ways to handle yourself. But
exactly, and like I said, there's some stuff out there like, the arm wrestling censored. And I actually had to like get away from that. I liked it and I was in it, that kind of stuff. And then it got to a point like, you know what? It's getting too personal for me because not that I was involved in it, but it was like I see other people be involved and now they're like on social media saying, hey, I don't know who this Devin Salee or whatever it was, making threats and stuff. It's like, you know what? When they start doing that and other people are like chiming in, I know who you are, I'm going to find you and blah, blah, blah. That's when it's like, okay, now we're getting away from what this whole thing is about.
Yeah, again, at the end of the day, I think people, there's people that are just bored. You know what I mean? Who knows? Again, I try my best not to judge people for the reason they're doing it.
Right.
But I completely agree with you saying, if we're let's have if we're gonna do a forum with this many people in it, like I said, I know several people that feel the same way. They're like, dude, fuck that group, and I'm gonna leave it or whatever. I muted it or this and that, and I'm like, well, that's you know what I mean? Because it's like, people coming on and trolling Ryan Bowen, and hey, Ryan's been nothing but a cool dude with me, those guys from Australia, Aussie,
right.
Lachlan, Ryan, Phil, Phil would come to Singapore to train, and those guys have been nothing but cool. And hey, I think if anyone's mad at what Ryan Bowen's doing or saying, it's probably a little bit of jealousy that they weren't doing it first. I don't know. Hey, I can say it full heart. I can be like, not in a negative way, but I'm jealous of Ryan of how the content he puts out. It's hard, man, to put that stuff out, consistently, and especially back when he was doing it while he was working a full-time job, and he has children, and hey, anyone who's doing good in the sport, I admire him. I think it's awesome. I think it's more power to him, and that's just me. You know what I mean? I think I think Ryan's doing a great job, doing everything he can to make the sport grow, and whatever.
I'm gonna make one last point before we go ahead and put a bow tie on the show. But
sure, yeah.
I don't get jealous of people like that. You want to know why? Because I look at it like this. It doesn't matter if I'm at work, right? And I know for a fact I have a coworker who doesn't put nearly as time or energy as I do, but they get paid more than I do. Whether they earn it or not is besides the point, because how much they make doesn't affect my household one way or the other. So in other words, whatever Bowen's doing, I'm not mad at him. Let him do it. Let him do him, because what he puts out doesn't threaten me. What anybody else puts out doesn't threaten me. So when you have, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about when you have all these guys going to events and filming footage, and it's a race to get back. Okay, let me go ahead and try to post this up so they can look at mine. Guys going forward who want to have a talk show or a podcast or what have you, guys who want to sit there and start filming events and getting their stuff and have a YouTube page, whatever, you got to understand, these guys were here before you. Pay homage to those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did I start ArmTalk? Was because, do you remember, Hand Control Worldwide with Josh Grant and John Brown? You remember that? Do you remember those guys?
No, I don't. Off the top of my head, no. I may know to see if I know, but not off the top of my head, no.
Those guys and Craig Sublair were the reasons why I want to do ArmTalk, because all they did, and they had guests every week. I don't have guests every week, but what they did, they found a guest, and they're like, hey, they're just talking. I'm like, cool, because now when I want to work out, I would just, go to their YouTube page. Hey, who I want to listen to today? Oh, let's listen to Tim Breslin today, for example. Yep. I'm listening to him while I'm working out. Those were the guys that got me, that inspired me to go ahead and do ArmTalk. So for that, I pay homage to them. When you have guys now filming, and it's a free-for-all. When you have the Alex Topros, the Joseph Drelix, the Nick Postal, Brad Cooks of the world, Nano Cruz, whatever. Anybody going forward who want to sit there and buy all the camera equipment to film these events, just realize those guys were there first. So you can't get mad. Yeah, they've been doing it a long time.
I'm pretty sure, like I said, Nick's doing that stuff. These guys are all doing that stuff on their own dime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're making an investment, man. It's again, like, I can't be mad at you for having I live in an apartment, man, and I can't be mad at you. Like, you have a house, screw you. But no, man, you work for that,
Right.
If anything, I'd go to someone. I always like going to someone who's doing better than me. Number one, acknowledging that they might be doing better than me and going, hey, man, how'd you do that? So, very similar what you said. I used to say the same thing all the time. Like I said, I had a 10-year contract in Singapore, man, to do my job out there.
Right.
It was year after year. It was a year-to-year contract, and each year I would re-sign it. And people would say to me this, and that, because I was on the opening team. And, and people would say all this stuff to me, what about this? And I would always say to them, man, there's one name on that contract, mine. Even my own wife, you know what I mean? There's one name on my contract, one name on your contract. And people are getting wrapped up in stuff. And, but, I don't like working with him, or he did this or she did that. I'm like, that's irrelevant to me. When I started my job, I signed the contract to do the work I was doing, not to be people's best friends, not to be anyone's enemy. I just signed up to do the job. And if I got along with you, hey, that's a bonus and a blessing. If you didn't get along with me, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'll try to do the best I can to make your life less miserable. But at the end of the day, hey, you can't make anybody happy, And like I said, I keep supporting the people. I keep supporting the people who support me. Thank you for supporting me. And if you don't like me, I pray for you too. And maybe one day, we'll all be friends. I don't know. That's how I look at it.
I thank everybody in the chat watching me. Thanks for all 7 likes out there. But I thank you for chiming in, because I know you support each other. As a matter of fact, I know for a fact right now, I think Uncle John is on live. I know some people are on his, watching his channel, and I'll watch it shortly once you and I are done. Ryan Espy, another guy.
Likewise, me too. Me too. Hey, if it's content in sport, I'm probably already subscribed, or I'm really interested. I'm liking it, and don't get me wrong. There's some stuff out there that's a little bit weird, but none of the names that you say. I like looking at arm wrestling for arm wrestling. I don't want to see dudes with their shirts off and short shorts. I don't want to see that. But maybe my wife does. But at the end of the day, if you're out there, all the names you mentioned, Bowens and Espy's, and Uncle John, and Puller Mag. I'm already subscribed. Again, same to me. If you want to help me out, like and subscribe to my channel, or like I said, like and support our shirts. Like I said to you, Jody, send me your address, and I'd love to gift you a shirt for having me on today. And let me know if you want it big or small. I wear a child's extra small to look as big as possible. But that's
X larges do me just fine. I'm trying to cut some of this gut I got going on, because as you get older, we all know as we get older, fucking metabolism slows down.
It ain't fun. Yeah, it ain't fun. Yeah, 38 was the age for me. 37, I was lean as hell. 38, I was like, what the fuck? So I feel you, man. But yeah, like I said, if anyone's looking, like I said, I'll send you a shirt. If you can give me a shout out once you get it, and all that kind of stuff like that, that'd be appreciated. And but yeah, man, thank you for having me on. It was a great talk. I loved it. Anytime you're like, hey, you want to chat again about arm wrestling, I can do it all day.
Hell yeah, man. And if I didn't have a lot of other stuff I gotta get done, I say let's go for another hour. But I got some other stuff I gotta do too.
Oh no, I got too. Yeah, I got to play with my cat. So, yeah, shout out to Coach Ray. I'm also a cat. I'm trying to be the cat guy of the U.S. and North America.
There you go. Well, my man, I want to thank you for joining me on the show. Everybody out there, 9 likes. I love it. Thank you for joining me on this episode. And this arm talk was kind of turning into some real talk, and I like that. I did appreciate that, because we hit on some topics that sometimes people don't want to touch base on, but you and I attack that, so I appreciate that. So it goes to show that, hey, it's just water cooler talk. It's good talk. I love it.
No, me too, man. Like I said, I love a good conversation about anything. I like natural progression. We talk about one thing and it ends up just naturally, organically flowing and stuff like that. It was an easy conversation, and a lot of fun for myself too. Like I said, man, hit me up anytime you want to do it again. I'd love it. I'd love to be on. My pleasure, honor to be on the show. And all the best success for you, and not only in your show, but beating up some of the other old guys out in Orlando, man. You're bringing home that gold.
I'm gonna whoop some Europeans. They don't even know. I tell you what, like I said on the show the other day with Kyle, them guys from Europe and whoever the fuck you're from, you Pakistan, Kazakhstan, whatever, they gonna understand what a peasant sprinter really is when I get done with them. And that's it. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah, my friend, thank you for joining me on the show, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, brother. All the best, man. Have a blessed weekend.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Later, my friend.
Take care. So that was Mr. Jason Latona, and I'm telling you right now, he was the voice of the King of Cali. Did some awesome commentator. Go check it out, As for me, this is only part 1, because part 2 is coming on later tonight, 5:30 West Coast time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. I will have the gorilla himself, Corey West. Feel free to chime in on that one. I will be back. Trust me when I say that. That's going to be an awesome interview, because we're going to talk about how his training is going ever since he had the injury with Dave Chafee last year. We're going to talk about his thoughts about his upcoming match with Toddzilla. So, hey, come right back to the channel tonight, 5:30 West Coast time, 6:30 Mountain time, 7:30 Central time, 8:30 West Coast time, 9:30 Uncle John time, whatever the case may be. Y'all tune in. And as always, it's Flex Friday, but I have an injured bicep. I'm trying to get this bad boy ready to go for Worlds next week. But as always, I see ya when I see ya. Thank you guys for the likes. I will talk to y'all later tonight.